Okay, so I have the system hooked up here, and I just want to go over quickly the temps of the Liquid Devil. And at the same time, I want to address this whole thing about is 1360 enough for this build, which seems to be very popular since I posted this on some Facebook groups. Yes, 360 is enough, in short. Don't understand why. I'll explain that real quick. Every radiator is capable of dissipating X amount of wattage of heat. Okay, so as long as you don't exceed that wattage, then you're not heat soaking that radiator, right? So heat soaking in a radiator happens when A, you don't have enough airflow, or B, you have way too much component wattage that you're trying to dissipate and the radiator can't handle it, right? So this build, you know, the GPU pulls 330, CPU probably somewhere similar. That's pretty much in line with this radiator can do. My ambient's a little warm. It's about 28C in here right now. And my idle water temp is 32C. Okay? You can see that on the screen. Now, I expect it to get a little warmer in here. I'm under lights as well. So this is not the ideal environment. It's already warm. It's probably 30C even. I can just feels warm in here. So right away, I'm just going to quickly start stressing the CPU, and we can take a look at temps there. Okay, then we'll move on to the GPU. You can see that my water temperature has pretty much stayed the same, but my CPU is now loaded 100%, and it's sitting at about 74C. Okay, now I've done this test quite a bit for stability since I not undervolted, but I have a negative offset on PBO. So it's minus 0.0375 volt. I find that mostly the default BIOS tends to give it way more voltage than it needs. And yeah, so you can see it's going to hang at 73, 74. I've kept it loaded for a long time before, and it never really even got past 77. Okay, so that pretty much will stay there. And now let's bring on the worst case scenario. 100% loaded GPU, and then let's run Combustor. Combustor, if you don't know, is a very stressful GPU application. And you can see my GPU shot straight up to 99. And you can tell memory is overclocked, and so is the GPU clock at 2519. This is one of the most hungry power versions of the 6900 XT that you can get. 330 watts pulled on load on average. This is about the same as the NVIDIA Founders Edition, about 300 something watts off the top of my head. So the heat output's similar, okay? As you can see, my GPU is at 50. I do expect this to climb to 56 with both of them loaded up. My water temperature is holding steady at 32. I don't even hear the fans yet, so I know the heat hasn't built up yet. So if I let this run for another 10 minutes or so, it's going to kind of come to that point where it stabilizes. And at that point, I would expect my water temp delta to be around 10C. That sounds about right. 10C is decent. It's not amazing, but it's considered good. But yeah, as you can see, it's holding GPUs at 52. CPU's now 79, 78. The fans haven't begun to spin up yet. But when you're gaming, you're not going to have this kind of 100% CPU load and 100% GPU load constantly, at least not for the CPU. If you have 100% CPU load all the time in your games, then it's probably time to get a new CPU. Okay. That's pretty much how it is, because if you have 100% CPU usage, you're probably bottlenecking your GPU. And also I'm stressing the FPU, so this is actually the even hotter version of the test for the CPU itself. Oh, actually hit 80. So back down to 79. But I don't know how well this is going to come across on the video, but let's just look at the noise here, okay? So the focus is. You see the PC is about 47 dB. I live in New York City. It's never that quiet. If I just had the PC off right now, it would be in the 40s as well. So stabilizing a little bit more. GPU 55, CPU 80. I pretty much expect it to stay this way. You can always actually tell if your radiator is heat soaked by touching it. If it feels warm, like extremely hot, then you're probably heat soaking it. But these fans haven't yet to spin up 100% because, like I made videos on this before, set your fan speed according to your water temp, right? Because it's water cooling, you're water cooling the water, you're not water cooling the components. I mean, technically you are, but your radiator is there to cool the water. So I have this fan curve set to, I think, 85% on the fans when the water temp hits 40. So right now, looking at it, it is 30 C in here. And the water temp is 35. Now, at the same time, this GPU, I know for a fact, on a test bench, okay, when it was not bench, but a test box where it's hooked up to two 360s, gaming, it does hit 52, even on two 360s. All right, so this is a little bit warmer, like 52, 53, but I wasn't under all these lights, so yeah. But yeah, you can kind of see how my CPU temp has evened out and my GPU temp has evened out. It's peaking a little bit higher, but let me just feel the air coming out. It's very nice and warm. Case still feels cool. But this is with the glass on. So for folks that, you know, with the dynamics, I know it's a very popular case, and you know, most people put 2 radiators in their distro and some people put 3. And some people buy like a Corsair 1000D and stick 6 radiators in there to cool essentially what I have in this PC. Okay, don't do that. You're just wasting your money. That's pretty much all you're doing. And if you have a big case with just one, you know, mainstream board and one GPU, and you load out that radiators, it just looks silly. Okay, I mean, I get it if you like it, but you're really not getting any benefit. So even for the folks that want to add more radiators, that's not solving the problem. Okay, if you have bad temperatures and you have 2 360s, unless you're running multiple GPUs in some type of rendering workload, there's no reason you should have more than 2 radiators. If you have Threadripper 64 core, that's a little different of a story. Even then, 2 480s, 2 360s is more than sufficient with one GPU. So this is one 360 radiator. It's not even the thickest in the world. It's only 54 millimeters, I believe, or 55. And these are not the world's best static fans either, but they're decent. They're not running at 100% either. And you can see my temperatures are perfectly fine. GPU now is 58. My NVIDIA 3090 water-cooled Strix 3090 FE, they both come close to this when it's maxed over. Well, not so much the FE, because there's a good block on there. But my 3090 Strix video that you see, that block, that GPU hits 62, 63 under load with 2 480s attached to it. So granted, that's pulling 400 something watts, but you can see it's evened out, and that's pretty much my point. One 360 in a glass box. As long as you have airflow going, and as long as you have volume for air to move in, you're good to go. So with that said, I'm going to end the video here. This is a very impressive GPU, by the way. I will do more benchmark information on the Air one, because I think that one's more common for folks to buy. The Air one's extremely quiet. It is the most impressive sounding cooler in terms of noise level I've ever had. And that pretty much wraps it up. So thank you for watching. This build is my home theater PC, also my storage box. So all these lovely YouTube videos I make get stored there, and all the photos I take for other stuff get stored there. And yeah, couch gaming, right? Okay, well, thanks for watching. Stay safe and take care.